기캣! 오늘 우리 한국 갈 거야. 빨리 가자. Today I wanted to cover a bit of a basic concept, but one that I think is really important to know: how to use adjectives in Korean. An adjective in English, as many of you know, is a word used to describe a noun. For example, you can have just a house, or you can have a big house, or a small house, etc. House is the noun, while big or small are adjectives. In Korean, adjectives also come before the noun. Let's take a look at an example. First we have just 집 for a house, but we can add 큰 to the beginning and get a big house, 큰 집, or a small house, 작은 집. 큰 here is an adjective and 집 is a noun. If this is your first time seeing adjectives, you might be thinking to yourself, if I just learn a bunch of these adjectives like 큰 or 작은 and a bunch of nouns like 집, then I'll be fine. But actually, these adjectives aren't quite what they seem. In Korean, adjectives like these actually come originally from verbs. Specifically, these are called descriptive verbs because they're verbs which are used for describing things and can be changed into adjectives. This is different from an action verb such as to do or to eat, which are actions. So in Korean, a verb can become an adjective. I'll show you how. The verb for to be big is 크다. To change to be big into an adjective, big, we'll first need to remove the 다 at the end, just like when conjugating any verb. After removing the 다, take a look at the stem that's left over. If the stem ends in a vowel, you'll want to add just a nian to the end. And if the stem ends in a consonant, you'll add un to the end. Since k ends in the vowel, we'll add a nian, so it becomes kun. Now we can use the verb to be big as an adjective, big. The same goes for the verb to be small, 작다. After removing the da, we're left with 작, which ends in a consonant. So we'll add un to the end and get 작은, the adjective for small. After we made the adjectives for these verbs, we can stick them before any noun we'd like. Previously we used 집, but you can use any noun, such as 머리 for head. You can have 큰 머리 or 작은 머리, a big head or a small head, or any noun you'd like. You need to know how to conjugate verbs into adjectives because verbs can be used in many ways. If you were to only memorize 큰 and 작은 but not memorize 크다 and 작다, then you'd be unable to use 크다 and 작다 for anything else. Basically, you need to know how to conjugate verbs so that you'll have a larger vocabulary without having to memorize thousands of extra combinations. It might seem like a pain at first, but once you practiced it a bit, conjugating a verb into an adjective will become much easier and you won't have to think about it. Here are two more examples of different descriptive verbs conjugated to adjectives. 철수 씨는 친절한 사람이에요. 철수 is a nice person. 정말 좋은 생각입니다. That's a really good idea. So now we know how to change a descriptive verb which has a stem ending in a vowel, such as 크다, and also ones that end in a consonant, such as 작다. But there are a few other types of verbs and they'll conjugate into adjectives differently. Let's take a look at what those are. After removing the 다 at the end of a descriptive verb, if the verb stem ends in a single piup, it'll conjugate differently. To conjugate it as an adjective, first remove the biup, then add the syllable u. Finally, add a nian to the bottom. Let's take a look at the verb 어렵다, to be difficult. First remove the 다, then remove the biup. Then add the syllable u. Then add a nian to the bottom. 어제 어려운 시험을 봤어요. Yesterday, I had a difficult test. It seems like a lot of steps, but when you've adjusted to it, all you're doing is removing the biup and adding un to the end. Remember that this is only for verb stems that end in a single biup and not a double one, such as the descriptive verb 예쁘다, to be pretty, which simply becomes 예쁜. If the verb stem ends in a lir, it's pretty simple to change it to an adjective. Just remove the lir at the bottom and replace it with a nian. Let's take a look at the descriptive verb 멀다, to be far or to be distant. First remove the 다, take away the 릴. Then add a nian, and you're done. 먼 나라로 여행 가고 싶어요. I want to travel to a distant country. Now, if the descriptive verb ends in 있다, such as 맛이 있다, to be delicious, it also conjugates differently. 있다 will become 있는. So the verb 맛이 있다 will become 맛이 있는. 맛이 있는 음식을 먹고 싶어요. I want to eat delicious food. Or for a more natural translation, I want to eat something good. However, and this is a bit technical, but know that the verb 있다, which means to exist, is actually not a descriptive verb, but is an action verb. I've included it in this lesson though, since it does appear inside of many descriptive verbs. And that's all for today, and you can also learn more about what we've gone over today in the PDF version of this lesson, which is available on my website right here. And as always, I recommend that you watch this video again, and then practice by making your own sentences using what we've learned. And remember that new videos are posted every week, so click subscribe and follow along. 그럼 다음에 또 봐. 드디어 한국에 왔다. 뭐 먼저 할래? 키캣 어디가? 자고 있구나. 역시. 동립 moon, 혹립 moon, or dogrib moon. What are the most common errors you see from people who are learning Korean?